Cobblemon is my favorite mod in Minecraft. It takes our smooth Pokemon and turns them into blocky creatures. Combine that with the open world and your imagination can basically make anything come true. You guys enjoyed the last Cobblemon video so much that I'll be spending another 100 days in the newest update. So many new things were added since last time I played, but I won't be exploring them all on my own. I'll be playing with hundreds of other people on an online server because this video is sponsored by CobbleGalaxy. Because they have a ton of amazing content like Mega Evolutions, Z-moves, legendary Pokemon that can spawn in the wild, and so much more. And before I tell you all the challenges that I want to complete inside of these 100 days, let me show off what this entire server has to offer you. In order for me or anybody else to get on the server, you just need to download their CobbleGalaxy mod pack, or you can connect by using their server IP too. When I spawned into this world for the first time, I was stumped. I saw beautiful Charizard statues, other giants like Mega Rayquaza, and some awesome skins that are exclusive to this server. But I also noticed that I immediately got a starter welcoming pack with some Pokeballs, a rod, a diamond pickaxe, and other pretty useful stuff. You also have a menu that goes over the server features. Here you have stuff like Wonder Trading and the GTS, which you can use to get new Pokemon or buy items off of other people in the server, as it basically has its very own economy. You can earn money in various different ways, which we'll get into later, because you've also got other stuff like player-ran gyms, which were unfortunately under maintenance while I was playing, so unfortunately I won't be able to use them for my goals. But I found another pretty cool challenge to take on besides their gyms. One of them is the Battle Factory, just like in Pokemon Emerald, where you can rent 3 Pokemon, you'll then have to battle with these Pokemon inside of the battle tower, and each time you defeat a trainer inside of the tower, you can either pick one of their Pokemon to add to your team, or just move on to the next floor. In total, there are 10 floors, and if you manage to clear them all, you get some pretty juicy rewards. So one of my goals is to complete all the floors of the Battle Factory. You've also got Dex rewards. Each time you complete 5 or 10% of your Pokedex, you can claim some rewards for that. So I want to complete at least 20% of my Pokedex, which is around 225 Pokemon captured. As another challenge, I also want to have a full team of level 100 Pokemon, which is definitely not going to be easy, but with all of the rewards that we get from the challenges that we'll complete, we should be able to get it done. I also want to capture at least 2 shiny Pokemon throughout my adventure and capture 1 legendary, and my mind immediately goes to either Groudon or Rayquaza because they look absolutely awesome in the Cobblemon mod. I also want to get one of the most sought after items in the entire server, which is a Mega Bracelet. You can either search for it on the GTS until someone sells it for either 2 or 3 million Poké-dollars, or you can try to get one for yourself by completing Poke Hunts. Now you may ask yourself, what are Poke Hunts? Well, it's actually pretty easy. The game will give you this grid with certain Pokemon placed on it. You then have either 30 minutes or 3 hours depending on the rarity of the Pokemon to go and capture it. If you manage to capture the Pokemon, you get something called Hunt Points, and you'll need 150 of them for a Mega Bracelet. You've got 3 rarity varieties of Pokemon: Common, Uncommon, and Rare. Common ends up giving you 1 Hunt Point and some Poké-dollars. For Uncommons and Rares, your rewards will obviously be increased. You also get experience for these hunts, and each time you get to a new level, you can claim some extra rewards like Hunt Points and other nifty stuff. So hopefully I'll be able to get 150 of those to get myself a Mega Bracelet so I can use my favorite Mega, Swampert. This brings me to my last challenge, beating up the other YouTubers that have partnered up with this server in their own 100 days challenges, because they got turned into their very own NPCs that you can challenge with the exact team that they crafted throughout their own journeys. And you'll be able to do the same to me at the end of this video. But before that, we've got way too many things to do because we haven't even picked our starter yet. So I use my favorite command in the entire game, RTP, to randomly teleport to a place inside of the Minecraft overworld. And as I started to walk around this unknown place, I immediately got that feeling of joy enjoy each time I start a new Cobblemon server. Just seeing the Pokemon walking around in their blocky little forms will just never get old to me. I quickly found a Nether portal, but didn't really think I was ready for that yet. So to prepare myself, I finally picked my starter, and after a long debate, I went with Froakie, one of the stars of my Legend ZA 100% run that I just wanted to bring back, even though his Mega Evolution isn't in Cobblemon yet. But Ash Greninja, arguably the third most popular Pokemon of all time, actually is. But you need to capture a wild Greninja with the Battle Bond ability if you want to get him, and that might be a little too unrealistic of a goal for me to set. So I'll just settle for an awesome, regular looking Greninja. After checking out my Froakie and seeing that it didn't really have the best nature, I did notice that it can always relearn the moves that it forgot, which is a pretty damn neat feature. After taking in the landscape some more and doing some exploring, I eventually ran into a very rare Pokemon, Sandy Shocks. It was like level 50 though, so I knew I couldn't take it on, and I didn't want to get too overpowered this early either, so I just left it alone. But this was the only time I ever ran into a Paradox Pokemon, so maybe I should have captured it. I also won my very first Pokemon battle by defeating a Skorupi with some water guns, and after doing my very first mining session, which was pretty easy with the diamond pickaxe, I ran into this beautiful glowberry cave. And all of this stuff is so new to me because I'm used to the old Minecraft, where it's just bare landscapes and no crazy stuff like this going around. So I picked up as many berries as I could because apparently you could use them as fishing bait, and then I went back out to the surface and saw a sleeping Capsicid. It's so charming to see that Pokemon actually sleep in the overworld. It makes everything just feel way more alive. I also raided my very first chest because this world can be built in by anybody that enters the server, but karma caught up to me quickly as this silly cobra took out my Froakie. So I tried to heal up with my portable healing station and PC, but it had some sort of cooldown on it, so I teleported to spawn and used the healer there instead. I also claimed my daily reward, which got me 5 free rare candies, and then went over to the vote crates, because you might have noticed that there's currently a 3x shiny boost going on. This happens when the server receives 100 votes in total. You can also vote yourself on 6 or 7 different websites, and these will then give you a vote key. Those vote keys can be used to get free items and Pokemon from the vote key crates. And on my very first one, I ended up getting 16 large XP candies, which we could easily use to grind up our Froakie here, but first I stopped by the EV grinding spot, which is exactly what it says it is. You face a trainer with 6 Pokemons of a particular EV, and just like that, you can make your Pokemon as strong as you want them to be by buffing up their stats. After this, I used one of my candies on Froakie to evolve it into Frogadier, because most of the Pokemon in the overworld were quite a lot higher in level than I was, and this should make taking him down a little easier. After running through this really cool area called Yellowstone, I didn't know they named Minecraft areas after like national parks these days, but I'm not gonna lie, I definitely like all of the new biomes that I've never seen before. I also made my first ever Pokemon capture, which ended up being a Sentret that I immediately evolved into Furret, and I kept this up by immediately capturing a Starly as well and evolving it into Staravia. While I was walking by the shoreline though, I saw this giant looking Pancham. I don't think it's supposed to be this big, so I naturally picked it up as well. With this new squad of bodyguards by my side, I eventually ran into my first ever player built house. I always find it fascinating to see what people can come up with in their brains in terms of architecture in Minecraft, but what I like to do even more is raid their bases and grab the supplies for myself, which I unfortunately couldn't do here because he claimed the land as his own, which doesn't allow me to enter his chests or break any of his stuff. And I can do that myself when I eventually build my very own house. I then wasted some balls after trying to capture a Vivillon, found some wild apricots which we can turn into Pokeballs if we want to, but because there is a server shop, I would just rather get them that way. Straight after, I did raid my very first base because the guy didn't claim it and it seemed very abandoned. If not, and this is your house and you're somehow watching this, I'm very sorry, but all your goodies are mine now. There wasn't a lot in there, but I did grab an iron ball that sold for $400. I'm getting my stonks up today, boys. I celebrated by capturing a giant Whirlpool just outside, which resulted in its mother, a Dustox, getting incredibly angry, so I decided to beat that up with my Pancham. I then captured my 6th party member, Wattrel, but also a Patrat, Rattata, and this giant looking Bombirder that was stuck in this salsa dancing pose. After taking it down to the dance floor, I also captured a Mareep and then got incredibly lucky, because just after I built a little crafting station and evolved some of my Pokemon, I ran into 2 starters back to back. If you didn't know, starters are really rare to encounter in Cobblemon, and I ended up finding a Combuskin and a Scorbunny not even 3 meters from each other. Naturally, I had to use my Fluffy static ability to paralyze them, which made capturing them even easier than normal. Straight after, I evolved Scorbunny into Raboot, and with these 2 new awesome fire types added to the squad, we could take on a level 39 Spidops and capture that thing too. I found my first ever village, but unfortunately this place was already raided and claimed by somebody else, so instead I moved on to a new hobby of mine: fishing. And fishing on the server is by far one of the best ways to make money, because you've got these things called fishing hunts. They're the same thing as poke hunts, but in my opinion, they are way easier to complete, because there is a much smaller pool of encounters that live in the water. And believe it or not, but the first Pokemon I ever fished up was a shiny Frillish. This somehow made me think that fishing for shinies was incredibly easy, but that wasn't the case at all, because I never ever fished up another shiny in my adventure again. So this little buddy must have been destined to be at my side. Another really cool thing I noticed is that if you're battling on water and you don't have a water Pokemon yourself, they like get put on this wooden raft. I don't know where I stored this thing, but it adds so much charm to the battles in Cobblemon. While fishing, I also captured a Wishiwashi and a Pincurchin, and then put on my winter clothes to explore the ice biome. This is where I captured a cute little Snom and Scraggy, and got ambushed by a Team Rocket Grunt that managed to take out my entire team and forced me to hand over some of my money. Even though this was a little setback, I did go back to the vote crates because I got another free key and got myself 4 sport balls. I wanted to use these to complete my Pokedex some more, so I captured a Machop and Roly-Coly, then picked up some wild Aurum berries, which actually have a lot of properties in Cobblemon, but we'll get into that later, and also had a very scrappy fight with a Miltank that nearly took down my entire team, but in the end, I was able to capture it. However, did you know that you can also milk Miltanks in this game for Moo milk, which can be used in various different recipes? After capturing a Lediba as well, I did a few evolutions and ran into this wasteland biome with a little sleepy, curled up Sizzlipede. Naturally, I had to wake it up and add it to the squad too, and I grabbed a Hippopotas as well, which is great in case I want to run a Sandstorm team. I then did another little fishing session, grabbing a Barboach, Corfish, and Grimer, and after moving location, I started reeling in the big boys like Gyarados, Relicanth, and Lumineon. And the cool thing about Gyarados and some other Pokemon is that you can actually ride it, which will make your water traversal a lot easier. There was also a weird thing going on with my Lumineon encounter, because it was actually one of my fishing hunts, and I was really excited to complete my very first one. However, I ran away from the battle before capturing it, which basically made it so that I wasn't a fishing encounter anymore, which meant it didn't count. So if you do fishing hunts, make sure to just capture the Pokemon the moment you reel it in. I then climbed the tower to overlook this beautiful blooming forest and tried to take revenge on Team Rocket, but this guy was stationed inside of somebody's domain, which unfortunately means I wasn't able to battle him. But this does mean that if you want to capture a legendary or something and you don't want anybody else interfering, you can just claim the area where you found the legendary and nobody will be able to steal it from you. Speaking of claiming land, I finally found a place where I wanted to build my house. It ended up being in this oasis biome, a place I'd never visited before. It just felt really cozy, almost like a place where I'd go on vacation. And I was doing the entire charade, you know, chopping trees, building chests to put my junk in, and making it a big square just like any standard Minecraft house, because you have to know something about me. I am absolutely terrible at building. If I was an architect, everybody would be living in the worst houses possible. I even claimed this place as my own land, which was pretty easy to do. You just need to select 2 corners and make a square with the claiming tool you get at the start of your journey. However, when I put down my bed, I got this message that my spawn point was changed. So I wanted to test that and did /spawn, which just brought me back to the hub of the server. That's when I realized that I could just never get back to my house because I didn't claim it as my home. If you actually want to teleport back to your house, you need to set it as your home first, which you do by doing /set_home and then the name of your home. But since I didn't do this, I never found my house again and lost all of the junk that I put away in that chest. No big deal, we'll start again and I'll find another place to live. But if you try out the server for yourself, don't make the same mistakes I do. I didn't really know what to do right now, so I decided to check out server warps. These are basically places that other players have put down that you can teleport to, and they have some really useful stuff. A lot of people build experience farms where infinite skeletons spawn so you can level up and easily enchant your items, but you've also got this really cool place called Kyogre, which is like this under the sea fishing level, and somebody else ended up fishing here with me, but I saw that there was a berry hanging from his Pokerod. So I looked into this, and apparently each berry has a different effect that attracts certain kinds of Pokemon. Like for example, a Tanga berry increases the chance of finding a bug-type Pokemon by 10 times. You've got other berries that can help you find certain natures for Pokemon, and even increase your shiny chances by up to 5 times if you use starve berries. This makes hunting certain Pokemon a lot easier for your fishing hunts, but of course you'll have to find the berries you need first, or buy them out of the server shop, but they're pretty expensive. There is an insane amount of other stuff like teleporting to each specific biome so you don't have to go search for it, but do keep in mind that a lot of the land inside of these warps is already claimed with like huge houses that people have built, which is why I prefer to find my own specific biomes by adventuring and looking around. But one of these warps did help me with finding a savanna, which allowed me to complete my very first Poke Hunt for a Doduo, giving me a hunt point, experience, and some money. After this, I ran out to the ocean and used Gyarados as my very first ride Pokemon. And while it might have been a very wobbly ride, it was definitely really cool to ride around on his back. I was trying to capture some Pokemon inside of this big sea as well, but every time I threw my Pokeball and it missed my target, I had to go to the bottom of the sea to pick it up, and that's how my oxygen ended up running out and I died for the very first time. Luckily, you don't lose any items or experience upon death, and you can easily find your death location again by a marker that will pop up on the map. Since I was in the spawn anyway, I did some voting and got myself a ton of vote keys. These gave me some useful items like relic coins, which you can use to evolve Gimmighoul into Goldengo if you get 999 of them. Also some medicine items, which I always tend to sell for some money since you can always come back to spawn to heal up your Pokemon anyway. I also got some Pokebuilder tokens, which can be used to build your Pokemon the way you want with their abilities, natures, genders, IVs, anything can basically be changed with these. But they are very hard to come by and are definitely expensive to use. But by far the best thing I got was a shiny crate key, which allows me to get a free shiny Pokemon. Now naturally I still prefer to find my shinies in the wild, but that doesn't mean I'm going to pass up on a free one. And once I popped my key into that chest and saw it spinning around, we ended up getting a Rapska, a Pokemon that I and probably everybody else in the world forgot about, but at least it's got a cool golden shiny unlike Pokemon like Garchomp and Gengar. I then checked out the GTS and saw people selling Pokemon like Kyogre for 1.5 million. I didn't have that kind of money at the moment, so I decided to take on the Battle Factory for the very first time. And I went in with a team of Flareon, Excadrill, and Overqwil. I thought the Toxic Orb Guts on Flareon combined with Trailblaze would work really well, combined with Overqwil's Intimidate and Excadrill's really high attack stat. And the first floor started off smooth, with Excadrill easily wiping out the first trainers, Heliolisk, Chatot, and even Regigigas. This gave me the opportunity to add the World Moving Giant to my team, but we all know Regigigas' slow start ability is so bad that I just left it. We also managed to beat the next 2 floors, and that's when I picked up a Hippowdon, which was the biggest mistake of my life. I thought, why don't we set up a Sandstream with its ability so we can utilize Excadrill's Sand Rush, which makes it hit harder in sandstorms. But getting rid of Flareon got me incredibly weak to a certain Pokemon called Torterra, who despite getting put to sleep by a yawn, woke up in a single turn, used the Shell Smash, and killed my Excadrill. I did pick up a Suicune along the way who was able to take down the Torterra with a few more Scalds, but the following Pokemon, Haxorus, was able to set up a Swords Dance and do immense damage to my Hippowdon and take down Suicune with Earthquake, and even though we were able to finish it off with an Earthquake of our own, his final Pokemon Cloyster put the nail in the coffin with an Icicle Spear, making me lose my first attempt on floor 7. This didn't really give me any good reward, so I'll definitely be back once my cooldown timer has run out. I checked out the other 2 YouTuber NPCs that you can battle inside of the server, but they were both at level 100, and my team was absolutely not ready to take them on yet. so I had to step up my game by evolving Frogadier into Greninja. And I have to say that this Cobblemon design is probably one of my favorite in the entire game. And let me know in the comments down below what your favorite looking Cobblemon is. I'd love to check out some designs that I might have not seen yet. And while you're at it, don't forget to subscribe as well because it helps out the channel an immense amount. Anyway, let's get back to exploring because I just found this abandoned player ran shop, which I guess you could use to buy useful stuff like master balls, eggs, and other things you may need. But there was no one around and I couldn't really steal anything here, so I left it alone and went for a little mining session. This landed me in a giant mine shaft, and while I was able to grab some ore here, my noobiness came up very quickly as I fell into a hole and died. Go ahead and flame me in the comments because I might actually be the worst Minecraft player of all time. This didn't hold me back though because I immediately went back into the overworld, grabbed a Graplocked, and used some of my candies to evolve Frillish into this giant green looking Jellicent. After winning $20,000 from a vote chest, I then raided somebody's berry garden, which will be able to help me out with some fishing. I also completed the Poke Hunt for Bunnelby and then captured a very weird looking Magikarp. These are Magikarp jump patterns. There's over 60 of them in the entire game, and each one can evolve into a different colored Gyarados, which I think is incredibly cool. And my personal favorite has to be this black one. I made a quick stop at the Atlantis Ocean where I could breathe underwater, and then I went on to terrorize the seal and spheal population inside of the Icelands. While I was running around here, I realized that I'd never ever built a house inside of a snowy biome, and that's when I made the decision that my house was going to be right here. I did the same thing as last time, build a square, put some of my stuff in it, claimed the land, and put it as my actual home by using set home. Once things were in order, I went to the experience farms and started killing as many blazes, skeletons, and zombies as I could. And once I hit level 30, I bought some lapis lazuli from the shop and used one of their enchanting tables to enchant my diamond pickaxe and give it fortune 2 and unbreaking 3. Two great enchantments, don't get me wrong, but without efficiency, it's really not all that great. Speaking of experience, I got some extra large candies from a voting crate, found these weird looking blue fairies inside of a nighttime forest. No idea what you could use those for, but we did end up finding a mushroom island where I completed another Poke Hunt for Paris, bringing me up to 10 hunt points. I also found an incredibly rare Artibax inside of the snow biome, so naturally I added this pseudo legendary to the team as well, and then I went back to grinding out levels to enchant my Poke Rod. On my first enchantment, I got Lure 2, which basically makes it so that Pokemon bite your bait faster and fishing goes a lot quicker. But what you really want on your rod is Luck of the Sea. This not only makes it so that you can fish up enchantment books and other great items that you can sell for money, but it also increases the chances of reeling in rare Pokemon like starters. So in the future, I definitely want to get my hands on one of those. For now, my Lure Rod would do just fine because I took it to my favorite spot in the entire server, the swamp fishing area. This entire place is built specifically for fishing and you see a ton of people when you're here, which makes fishing a little less lonely. Naturally, not every fishing encounter was in this pond, but a lot of them could be found here, which is why I went on a fishing hunt spree, grabbing a Lotat, Azurill, Feebas, Black Magikarp, Barboach, Krabby, Finian, and Lantern. With all of these new encounters, my Pokedex was actually up to 6.44%, and that allowed me to claim the 5% reward, giving me some experience candies, money, Pokebuilder tokens, and even a Pokemon key that ended up giving me a pretty useless Chingling. With my extra large candies, I also leveled up Greninja quite a bit because now that he's in the level 70s, he should be able to basically one-shot any encounter we have, and that's going to make grinding and fishing a lot smoother. After this, I did more experience grinding, allowing me to get another upgrade for my pickaxe, enchanting it with Fortune, Unbreaking, and Efficiency this time, so I spun my luck again and used one of my other rods to get Unbreaking 3 and Luck of the Sea 3 on it. So you know what that means. Now we can start fishing for those rare encounters and really get my hunt levels up. I started to reel in enchanted bows and laprises, so this thing was definitely working. But I needed a little break from fishing, and since I had acquired quite a few more vote keys, I used those to get my very first Master Ball, which will only be used on the rarest of Pokemon. And from this moment onward, I got myself a free rank upgrade from the server staff. These are ranks you can buy that make your life a whole lot easier, but they're absolutely not needed to have a fun time on the server. I got the highest legend rank, which gave me so much awesome stuff. I'm talking legendary Pokemon keys, shiny Pokemon keys, and even Galaxy and Halloween keys, which are basically just skins for Pokemon that make them look awesome. It also gave me 2 Master Balls and some experience candies, but most importantly, a lot of super useful commands like Pokeheal, PC, and Craft, so I can do anything I want on the go without having to go back to the spawn or my house. Now that I was a legend though, I couldn't be living in this dump of a house anymore. I wanted to build something special, a place where I would love to live. As I said before, I am terrible at building houses, so I did what anybody would do, look on YouTube and follow the tutorial for a beautiful Mudkip inspired house. Shout out to the Sunny Panda YouTube channel, because without that, I would have never been able to build this house. It took me an incredible amount of time and effort to do it, even though I was just following steps, but at least the materials were easy to get through the server shop. I mostly had to use blue and orange concrete, which I wouldn't even know how to get anyway, so I didn't really mind splashing the cash for my house for once. I lit up the place with some end rods, made sure the back of it was built out of glass so the sun could shine in, and I even had a little vine that led up to the upstairs area. I was so happy with my new place that I had to celebrate with a few chest rolls. I used 3 item keys to get a muscle band, fairy feather, and insect plates, and the cool thing about the muscle band is that you can actually put it on like a bandana on your character. And since Swampert is a physical attacker anyway, I naturally had to wear it for a while. Out of my 3 regular Pokemon crate keys, I got a Donphan, Hitmonchan, and something I would have never expected, the mythical Pokemon Manaphy. Keep in mind you can get any Pokemon out of this, so a mythical or a legendary isn't very likely. I think I should honestly just go to a casino and put it all on black with all of the luck I've been having in this video. Yeah, I live under a bridge now, but at least I can still play Cobblemon under here. But I've learned my lesson, no more gambling for me in the near future. I'll be using the rest of the keys later on for the coolest Pokemon. For now, I'll be taking on the Battle Factory again, because it's time for revenge, and I need to get to that floor 10. So on my next attempt, I ended up with a Snow team with a Ninetales that would set up the Hail, and utilize its Aurora Veil to buff my defenses. I would also have an Alolan Sandslash in the back, who with its Slush Rush ability would easily outspeed opponents, and it could set up with Swords Dance as well to boost its attack. Until I would run into my literal mirror match. This guy also had the same combo, but his Pokemon just had better stats, which is why they were able to overpower mine, which made me lose on the 3rd floor already. Luckily, my cooldown timer was not on this time, so I could just go in again with a new team. This time I had a Ninetales, Scovillain, and Umbreon. A pretty darn good combo, because Ninetales would set up the sun, which wouldn't only boost the power of my fire type attacks, but also activate Scovillain's chlorophyll ability so it could outspeed nearly everything. And Umbreon is just one of the most broken Pokemon we could use ever here, because it has Protect, Wish, Fall Play, and Toxic, so it can do major damage against physical attackers, heal itself up with its leftovers and Wish, and stall out opponents with its Toxic Protect combo. It was so strong in fact that the first trainer with its Cyclizar, Chatot, and Heliolisk would go down by this combo alone. On floor number 2, I'd be up against Typhlosion, Arcanine, and Centiskorch, and all 3 of these yet again got defeated by Umbreon. But I did something that I think was pretty smart. I swapped out my Scovillain for a Typhlosion because it had Choice Scarf and Eruption, one of the deadliest combos in random battles. And because we still have Ninetales with Drought, it could definitely come in handy here too. But we didn't need him for our 3rd floor battle, because this is where we faced another Ice-type team which got melted down by my very own Ninetales' Mystical Fires. On floor 4, Typhlosion's Eruptions did take care of a Galarian Weezing and Drapion, while Ninetales defeated the last Pokemon Breloom with a Mystical Fire yet again. Floor 6 was an easy Typhlosion sweep, as their Garchomp, Aegislash, and Volcarona couldn't stand up to me at all. On floor 6, I was up against a pretty strong team of Minior, Glastrier, and Hatterene. However, they could somehow not stand up to my Umbreon's fall plays at all. This brings us back to floor 7, our highest record so far. The difficulty ramped up immensely here, because all of a sudden we were up against Salamence, Tornadus, and Mew. And this mighty pseudo-legendary legendary dragon was the first Pokemon to ever take down my Umbreon with its outrage. And if it wasn't for my Typhlosion's Choice Scarf, we might have actually ended up losing here. But he managed to outspeed, used 2 eruptions, and dealt with it. Tornadus and Mew didn't end up facing any threats, even though they did take down my Ninetales. Typhlosion scorched them with more eruptions. Since this Salamence did so much damage to me, I decided to add it to my team instead of Ninetales. I figured Typhlosion didn't really need the Sun Boost, and Salamence is just way stronger than Ninetales would ever be. In hindsight, that might have not been the best idea because on the next floor I was immediately up against a Weavile. Luckily, Umbreon's Toxic Foul Play combo was enough to get it done. The same was true for the incoming Hydreigon, and my final opponent Skarmory would get melted down by Typhlosion's Eruption. On floor 9 we faced a Lokic, Skeledirge, and Flygon, and even though my Salamence got burned by a Will-O-Wisp, his Dragon Dance boosted dual Wing Beats and Outrages were easily able to sweep through this team. And that brought us to the final battle on floor 10. And the head here was definitely prepared for me, starting out with a Dragapult. So I swapped out into Umbreon hoping it would go for a Dragon type move, but instead it U-turned out into Terrapagos. I immediately tried to poison it with a Toxic, but instead he swaps out into Landorus. And while it was able to lower my attack with its Intimidate, it did get badly poisoned. And I think from here on out the battle AI broke, because all he did was swap between his Pokemon, allowing me to Toxic all of them and get easy hits in with Fall Play. So in the end, my MVP Umbreon took down Dragapult and Landorus, while Typhlosion delivered the final blow with Eruption on Terrapagos. And that's how I became the master of the Battle Factory. My victory here not only crossed off my first challenge, but also gave me 105 battle points that I can spend in the shop on Z Crystals, Experience Candies, or Pokemon Keys. And since I wasn't sure what I was going to buy yet, I sat on these points for a little while longer. Shortly after, I acquired a free Shiny Crate Key, and this gave me a Shiny Dodrio. Dodrio is definitely not my favorite Pokemon, but it's pretty strong, and I think its Shiny variant actually looks very good. Unfortunately, I won't be able to ride on him, but I did immediately slot him into my team. With the candies I had acquired, I leveled up my team a little bit so that they would all be at around level 50 or 60-ish, and I then went for the shortest mining session ever because not even 5 minutes in, and I had already died from fall damage again. So I tried again, and this time I just mined straight down and ended up in a giant ocean. I just don't think I'm meant to be a miner in Cobblemon, man. Each time I try, something goes wrong, so I'll be laying down the pickaxe. That was the best thing I could have done, because what I ran into next was hilarious. I found a random stranded wishy-washy laying on top of a mountain. No water nearby, and this guy was just floating there in the air. How did he get here? No idea. But I'd like to believe that there used to be a river here some time ago, and he just got stuck here forever. I tried to put him out of his misery, but not even that worked. But the coordinates are right there on the left in case you want to visit him yourself. The next day, I decided to take down a bug catcher with my Greninja, and I also evolved my Combusken into a Blaziken, and this KFC chicken was ready to kick some butt. I started to wander around the Badlands for a while after this, capturing a Cacnea, Numo, Sandshrew, and Pawmi. I also harassed some local armadillos, battled a hiker, and even found a wild Gimmighoul. And the cool thing is, if you beat these guys up, they drop one of their coins. So all you have to do to evolve one is beat 999 of these little critters. After this, my path led me to a desert. That's where I captured a Silicobra and a Bramblegast, raided someone's sandstone house, and made my Blaziken fist fight a Pawmot. I followed this up with a jump scare of a giant Durant. I'm just glad ants aren't this big in real life, and then captured Natsu, Shinx, Tinkatink, and Gimmighoul. After getting elected mayor by a town that was ran by sheep, they gave me a hint where I could find some really cool Pokemon. So I went to those exact coordinates that they gave me and found a Skarmory. This metal bird could have been my first flyer if it had flight enabled on it, which it doesn't, unfortunately. But the world did end up blessing me with a super derpy Mr. Krabs looking Cloth, which I naturally engulfed with some of my balls. And after finding another desert town, I would ride a very weird looking Camerupt. I would also run into a blue Squawkabilly and run into the biggest Casanova in all of Pokemon, Ditto. I really wanted to capture this thing because you can also breed in Cobblemon now. However, the server was about to have a reboot in 46 seconds. And while I tried my very best to whittle it down and lob some balls at it, I unfortunately ended up getting kicked without capturing it, and by the time I got back, it was gone. Now that I was fully back, I wanted to test out some right Pokemon. I used Lapras to cross the 7 seas and evolve Staravia into Staraptor to become Master of the Skies. I then built my very own Nether portal with obsidian I acquired from the store, but they didn't sell any flint, which meant I couldn't really light it. So I tried to do it with a lava bucket and some wood, but that just didn't work out at all. And by now you should know that I cannot handle anything Minecraft related, so I ended up killing myself with it. I never found that Nether portal again, but at least I was very close to 10% of my Pokedex completion. So I went ahead and captured a sleeping Weedle, found some unreleased regional Pokemon like this parrot-looking Squawkabilly, brown Miltank, and I guess a beta form of Wooloo. After raiding another town of emeralds, I really wanted to go legendary hunting, and my target was going to be Groudon, and its spawn location was the Badlands. After finding a nice spot for myself in there, I used my shovel to fully flatten the land, which should make it way easier for me to spot a Groudon if it ends up spawning. Not that that should be hard in the first place because it's a giant. I just didn't want to have anything in the way that could block its spawn point. And I'm not only talking about dead bushes, I'm also talking about the entire Pokemon population. I saw some people talking on the server and learned that you can actually kill these Pokemon with your tools, which is way faster than battling them every time because you don't have to go into the battle instance. Is it morally correct? Absolutely not. But it did get me some really cool Pokemon like Rufflet, Hawlucha, Cubone, and Scrafty. All of these captures got me up to 10% of my Pokedex completion, which rewarded me with more money and stuff, but also a random plushie. Plushies are basically Pokemon that you can place down in your base or wherever you want to make things look way cooler, and I got a Hydreigon, arguably the best Generation 5 Pokemon, so I was incredibly happy with that. Does all of this make you feel unstoppable though? Not really, because I got my ass handed to me by a giant Centiskorch that was way stronger than me. I guess that's just the karma catching up to me. This made me realize that I needed the best tools if I wanted to do this efficiently. So I spent some of my hard-earned cash on diamonds in the shop and built myself a full set of diamond tools and diamond armor. I also placed the Hydreigon plush down on the perfect spot in my base to spice the place up, and then gave all of my diamond tools enchantments so that my sharpness sword can easily wipe anything off the map. I was heading back to my Badlands spot, and along the way I heard this shiny sound. It felt like music to my ears, and it ended up being in the desert, a place where so many cool Pokemon can spawn. So I started to look around and just found this slightly reddish colored cactus. But upon closer inspection, it turned out to be a shiny Cacnea. Not even 2 seconds later and this little buddy would be mine, and in my opinion, it's not the best shiny, but at least I like Cacturne as a Pokemon quite a lot. And that might just have a little bit to do with my love for Generation 3. Anyway, after becoming a priest and praying for my Groudon to spawn, I would get back to the Badlands and wiped out the entire Pokemon population with my new diamond sword, and even though I died a few more times by the spikes of these little Cacneas, I was able to capture a Varoom, but over 3 hours later and no Groudon spawn would be in sight. So I turned my attention to one of the Cobblemon's newest update features, Pokesnacks. I mostly remember them from Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness, where you would have to put one of these down and they would attract Pokemon. Well, it basically works the exact same in Cobblemon, only now you can infuse them with different ingredients so you can attract the Pokemon you actually want to get. At this point, I didn't know how to make Pokesnacks, so I bought one off of the GTS for 8k Pokédollars, which was pretty expensive, and I had no idea what ingredients were applied to it. After putting it down, we did see a Pyroar, Dedenne, and Vikavolt, 3 really cool and rare encounters that I had never seen before, but the problem was that they weren't spawned from the Pokesnack. So if I wanted a Groudon, I would have to make one myself with the right effects. The main ingredients are a Vivichoke, a pretty rare item in Cobblemon, but luckily I could just buy the seeds for it inside of the shop, make a little farm with them close by my house, and then got some bone meal by defeating skeletons to make them grow up. Once I had acquired quite a few of them, I built myself a campfire pot which is used to cook Pokesnacks. The next ingredient I needed was milk, so I bought a couple of buckets, found some regional milk tanks, and filled all of them up with milk. The next thing I needed was hearty grains, which can only be acquired inside of a swamp, and they weren't available in the shop either, so I needed to find a swamp that wasn't raided by anybody in the server yet. So naturally, we went out on another adventure, this time finding a super cute glowing Galarian Ponyta, a giant evil ominous tower where I needed to fight this mage witch doctor guy at the top, and I even found an underwater temple with a giant blowfish in it that ended up beating my ass with its bubbles. After getting sent back to the lobby, I would eventually find an untouched swamp where I gathered my hearty grains. We then went back home and bought the last ingredient honey bottles, and now we just need to infuse the Poke Snack with whatever we want. Just like with the fishing bait, different berries will make it have different effects on the Pokemon it spawns, but I didn't go with berries at all. I bought enchanted apples from the shop because they increase the chance of rare Pokemon spawning. Now that I was broke and spent all of my money on Pokesnacks, I ended up with a few of them. I placed all of them down at once so that more Pokemon would be spawning because it can take quite a while before one takes a bite out of it, but this time I also chose a spot close by a river so I could do some fishing while I was hunting for Groudon. This was by far the best thing I could have done because I learned that fishing hunts are incredibly easy to complete with the luck of the sea rod, because I started to reel in rare Pokemon after rare Pokemon. I'm talking Marshtoms and Mudkips back to back, Totodile as well, and this got me the idea to just go on a fishing hunt until I would get my Mega Bracelet. But my rod got upgraded even more because I bought an anvil from the store and combined it with my lure rod, so now it's not only good at fishing up Pokemon, it's also really fast. I did stay by the Pokesnacks until they all ran out, but the coolest things they ended up spawning was a Revavroom and a Cufant. So yeah, I captured those, but then I just focused on fishing the entire time and got some incredible encounters. I'm talking Gumi, Gudra, Tatsugiri, Clotsire, Electric, and even an actual Swampert that I naturally captured immediately and added to the team. I was running out of balls quickly most of the time. Luckily, I had the GTS where I could buy 64 Ultra Balls for around 5 to 6k. And because I got so much money from the fishing hunts anyway, this started to become pocket change for me. And that's when I started a 10-hour fishing cycle as we reeled in Pokemon after Pokemon. I'm talking Huntail, giant Delmises, starter Pokemon like Piplup and Brionne. I was doing it all. I did take a couple of quick breaks in between. One of them was to use all of my keys that I had left from my legend rank upgrade. And hold on to your seats because the Pokemon I got out of these chests are going to blow your mind. First things first, I got a Charizard out of a regular Pokemon crate, which you can obviously use to fly around because who doesn't love flying around on a Charizard? But it only gets better from here because now I was about to use my 2 legendary keys, which netted me a Suicune and a Solgaleo. Definitely not the best legendaries considering I could have gotten like a Rayquaza or a Giratina, but this giant Sunlion would definitely fit on my team. I was just pretty disappointed that I couldn't ride him. I just feel like if a Pokemon is a certain size, you should be able to ride it no matter what. So let's just cross our fingers and hope that that gets added in a future update. Anyway, let's use our 3 Galaxy Crate keys, which are skins made specifically for the server. Those netted me a Space Starmie, a Moon Absol, and one of the most sought after Pokemon on the entire server that people will pay millions for, a Galaxy Dragonite. Not only is this the cutest dragon I might have ever seen, but I can also fly around on it, which makes it even more perfect. You bet this thing is going to be on my final team, cause I ain't ever taking it out of my party ever again. Now we only had 3 keys left, and those were the spooky Halloween themed keys. With these I got a Jack-o'-lantern Chandelure, where the candles are actually replaced with pumpkins, an awesome zombie Infernape that will also slot into the team perfectly, and lastly an angry pumpkin Gorgeist. And even though its Jack-o'-lantern is clearly what changed, I wasn't even sure when I first saw it. Now that we're fully maxed out in terms of Fashionscape, I planted some berries to help me out with fishing and completed over 30 fishing and Pokemon hunts while being accompanied by some very interesting individuals that had a Galaxy Zekrom and a Mewtwo, and I have to say seeing these two at work made fishing a lot more interesting. The most notable Pokemon I got in this section were Sobble, Dondozo, Froakie, Duat, Gorbis, another Swampert, Squirtle, Quaxly, Wartortle, Vaporeon, an actual Dragonite. And because it was level 59, it naturally obliterated my very own Dragonite because he was only level 44. After this, I captured a Kilowattrel, Dracloak, Piplup, Primplup, Avalugg, and I ended off my fishing hunts by getting to level 7 with 2 last starter captures, Piplup and Froakie. This might have been a quick compilation for you guys, but it took me hours to get all of these fishing hunts done. But it all paid off because now we have over 400,000 Pokédollars and 150 hunt points, which allowed me to get my very own Mega Bracelet. Now I just needed to buy myself a Swampertite, which was 30 more hunt points. This would take me hours to get, and I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of sick of fishing. So I asked in chat if anybody would be able to sell me one of their Swampertites, which would just save me quite a lot of time. And luckily, Nova Crasher 25, the legend, hooked me up. I ended up sending him 70,000 Pokédollars for it, which I thought was a fair trade. And what is a little bit of money in exchange for being able to evolve my favorite Pokemon of all time? I mean, just look at this buff boy. He's been hitting the gym for months, and he's ready to shred through the last few challenges that I have left. I went back to the spawn area and used my last few keys to get a couple of rewards from the vote chest, Pokemon chest, and one more legendary that I had somehow acquired. I don't actually know how I got this key. It might have been a reward for completing the 15% of my Pokedex, but I digress because I only got a Celesteela out of it. Not really sure why Ultra Beasts are considered legendary Pokemon, but this giant bell ain't leaving my PC no more, because I was about to gather all the supplies to build my final team. I bought a ton of vitamins in the shop because they were decently cheap and used them to max out the appropriate stats of my Pokemon, like HP and attack on Swampert, special attack and speed on Greninja, and so on. We still had 4 challenges left though, completing 20% of my Pokedex. We were currently at 15, capturing a legendary Pokemon, getting a full team of level 100s, and of course defeating the YouTuber NPCs. And 2 of these challenges could go hand in hand, capturing the legendary and filling up my Pokédex. My plan was as follows: spend all of my remaining Pokédollars on Pokésnacks, head to the top of some stony peaks because that's where Rayquaza spawns, and make the entire place a flat surface so I could place down my Pokésnacks. After this, I also rounded up my brother to help out because the more people that are around a certain spot, the more Pokemon will spawn. He ended up helping me by leveling the terrain and looking for any rare Pokemon spawns since we had 20 of these Pokésnacks lying around. We had some pretty decent luck finding a Colossal, Lairon, Bisharp, Ursaring, Torkoal, Larvitar, Medicham, Swablu, and Gible before something absolutely incredible happened. Not only did an Axew spawn, but at the same time, my first ever boss Pokemon showed up. They have a purple outline and are bigger than normal. They're also always level 100, and if you manage to defeat them, they give you either a Z Crystal or a Mega Stone. But considering I've been playing for 90-something days and this is the only one I have encountered, they might actually be rarer than legendary Pokemon, or at least the same kind of rarity. In my case, it was a Roly-Poly that got crushed by my Swampert's Rock Slides, and my reward was a Lunalium Z. The opposite of what I needed, because a Solgallium would have been way better since I actually have that Pokemon. After this, the only thing that still spawned was a Hisuian Sneasel, as well as a shiny Teddiursa, which unfortunately wasn't recorded because the server had just been rebooted and I hadn't turned on my recording yet, but Rayquaza never ended up showing its face. So I took out my anger on my brother's like level 30 Pokemon team because he had just started the server, but huge shout out to him for wanting to help me out. At this point, we were at day 92 and I just knew that I wasn't going to get this legendary. So I focused my efforts on a different section, making life orbs and a choice band so that my team all have useful held items. These were pretty easy to make. The only thing I really had to go out and get and couldn't buy in the shop was Nether quartz. And once my team had all of these utilities, I went back out into the world and visited some of the endgame areas like the Nether, the End, and even an ancient city, which is where I captured my last few Pokemon for my 20% completion. Those consisted of Slugma, Elgyem, Unknown, Sableye, Clink, Golett, and finally Spiritomb. And I have to say that Spiritomb looks very flashy here in the Cobblemon mod. Now that we have 20% of our Pokedex completed and another challenge crossed off the board, I claimed my reward for it and got my second plushie, which just ended up being a Minun. Regardless of that, I placed it down in my base and spent all of my remaining hunt points, battle points, and money on rare candies and XL experience candies. Combine that with the ones that I've already gathered gathered throughout my journey, and I had just enough to level up my entire team to level 100. Now there was only one, or should I say, two more things standing in my way, disregarding the legendary Pokemon capture, and that was beating Trevoyard and Dr. Duke. So I packed up my things and warped to Trevoyard first. He lives on top of this giant Master Ball tower that he probably built himself. And the cool thing about his battle is that you can only bring 3 Pokemon, and he will also use 3. So I picked Swampert, Greninja, and Dodrio to go in. And he would lead off with his level 100 Slacking that, by the way, didn't even have the Truant ability, so he could basically attack every turn. I don't know how he got this illegal bastard, but my Mega Swampert easily tanked its hits and knocked it down with a few Hammer Arms. This led him into his next Pokemon, Blissey, and this thing just died to a single Hammer Arm as well. I mean, 2 Pokemon down and we still have all 3 of ours remaining? What could go wrong, right? Well, what about a glitched out Golden Entei Eternatus guy thing? Yeah, I don't know what this thing is, but it has Wonder Guard and the question mark typing, which can be hit by super effective move.
This Golden Eternatus is the most unkillable Pokemon I could create. Every single aspect of it has been meticulously designed to counter every single strategy I could think of. The most important thing that makes it so invincible is the ability Wonder Guard, which makes you completely immune to any attacks that aren't super effective. And this Golden Eternatus is Fire type, meaning only ground, rock, and water type attacks are super effective and can hit it. But that wasn't good enough. The first move I taught Eternatus is Burn Up, which you can only use once because when you do, it completely removes your fire typing, which makes Eternatus typeless, meaning it no longer has any weakness and is immune to all attacks.
So yeah, I couldn't defeat him, but if this was a regular Entei, we easily would have one-tapped it with an Earthquake. So cue the final boss music, because now we're about to take on Dr. Duke. He lived inside of this magma house because in his video, he was actually a magma trainer, which ended up being kind of perfect for me because we have a Swampert that should be able to deal with anything he throws at me. But what I didn't expect was for him to bring out a massive Primal Groudon as his first Pokemon. Not only was I jealous of this big boy because I wanted to get one for myself, but when I tried to hit it with an Earthquake, he would also immediately swap out into his Mega Charizard Y. This might have negated my attack, but it also allowed me to hit a Rock Slide on the following turn to one-shot it. He would then bring out his mythical Victini, which also got one-shot by an Earthquake. King Ambit would go down to 2 of them, and from here on out, the AI just broke yet again because he would keep on switching between his 3 last Pokemon, those being Houndoom, Heatran, and Groudon. So I just kept on spamming Earthquake until all 3 of them would be defeated to have the most anticlimactic win to end off our battle. But on the other side, what's a better way to end off a video than with a Swampert sweep? And that was the end of my 100 days on the CobbleGalaxy server. We might not have been able to capture my legendary, but at least we got a couple of free ones from the chests. And if you want to visit my house and challenge my NPC team to a battle, you can do that by visiting these coordinates. I hope you guys enjoyed my journey through the new Cobblemon update, because I always love visiting this blocky world. I want to end off the video by thanking our membership supporters, whose support goes a long way with helping out creating these videos. So if you want to help out yourself and get some nice rewards for it, like being named after Pokemon in videos, you can do so by clicking the links in the description. I also want to thank CobbleGalaxy one last time for sponsoring today's video. Don't forget to check out their server by downloading their mod pack with the links in the description or going to their server IP address. With all of that out of the way, I've been Zwiggo, and I'll see you all in the next one.